Hello, this is Hassan from Sage Talks channel. Listen with your heart. How do you know that your life is wrong and a mistake? The answer is if you're making up 24 hours a day, love scenarios inside your mind, while the only person you love is standing in front of you. Yes, unfortunately, this is what is happening to you and me. This is what happens when we live countless dreams, aspirations, conflict with each other, and leave a fuss in our brains. Our lives are full of chaos, anxiety, and stressful focus. A fuss makes us forget what really matters to us and what we should do about those concerns. So sometimes you need to tell yourself enough is enough. Enough flops. I shouldn't care about everything. I must outline my life's curriculum as I want in clear sentences, and then put a point. Last line. A point indicating that you have decided to settle things. And this is what our book preaches today. This book, which if you will allow me to rename it, I will name it at the end of the line. A book with an attractive name, and its orange cover, in which we smell a pungent orange scent. How not, when it is full of the stings and benefits of indifference. The Art of Indifference by Mark Manson. He is our guest and your guest today, and who will teach us how to rearrange the drawers of our minds in a way that makes our vision clearer and our attitudes in life the simplest and most successful. Dear listener, the first time you heard the name of the book, The Art of Not Giving Up, what came to your mind? Let me guess. You came to mind the image of the Egyptian player Mohamed Salah. Correct. Mohamed Salah, the outstanding player, and I took a picture of him at the airport while he was reading the book The Art of Indifference. The book's sales exploded after this picture, to the point that the author personally thanked the player for the biggest marketing service any book in the world has ever received. But let me ask in another way. When you hear the word indifference, do you think of an image of that annoying person we know? A rather apathetic person in our lives? That person who babbles loudly in the movie theater, for example, or the one who carelessly skips others in line? If your answer is yes, you are wrong. Please do not be deceived by the word indifference. It does not mean an absolute lack of interest. The important thing is that simply focus on what is important. There is a question, though important, that we rarely ask ourselves. The question is, what do I care about? Truly, what do I pay him for? If you have previously asked yourself this question, do not be upset, because it is better to start late than not to start at all. Asking this question today is a new beginning. A fundamental question and an easy answer. When I asked myself this question, what do I care about? Truly, it appeared to me automatically, a clear answer. I care about my family, my home, my English major, my health, and some hobbies. My interests are many. After knowing this list, I must move on to the next stage, the most important stage. To start applying the art of indifference properly. The book tells you, we have a mistake in knowing what really matters to us. We also have a mistake in knowing the priorities of these interests. We are creative at fooling ourselves. We are champions in preoccupying ourselves with things that do not really concern us. And unfortunately, this concern comes at the expense of things that do matter to us. I have to learn not to care. Only what deserves attention. Here is another point of the line. Another question that may come to your mind. Why am I trying to get everything I want? It is not my right. I do not have the right to have, for example, a private business, to have excellent social relations, to have a perfect figure, to travel the world, and to share amazing pictures of my annual vacation with my friends on Snapchat. I have the right. Is it not my right to live and dream and strive for that? The answer is simply no. Because you're not Superman, and you're not Superwoman. The idea of having everything is an impossible idea. You cannot be full-time in your work, always present in the vicinity of your family, successful in all aspects of your social life, regularly visiting the gym every day, exercising on a daily basis. If you want to do everything you wish, whatever you want, whatever you desire with the same degree, with the same persistence, you will spend your life panting, and you will not find time to enjoy. According to Mark Manson, author of The Art of Not Giving Up, the good life is not about having it all. Rather, it is to excel in one thing, in exchange for giving up another. So, you have to choose what you want to get, and choose what to give up. Strong talk. If you like to see The Art of Indifference on its origins, but in its most severe form, the book does not go to extremes to tell us about indifference in all its forms. But he gave us a completely new view of how we live with an order of priorities that completely contradicts what is being promoted in the media. I mean, the book tells you to beware of the expressions, be happy, be ambitious, and be positive all the time. This view is what the book rejects. Dear listener, if you criticize development books, of course self-development books, and personal development, I understand your criticism. Development books contain many phrases calling for positivity, rejecting failure, and avoiding conflicts with the aim of achieving happiness. But what we forget, the author of The Art of Indifference has a completely different opinion. No one believes this if you hear it. The writer calls to stop trying to be happy. I put it back a second time. Stop trying to be happy. That's what the book is so clear about. The book calls for failure to be celebrated. The best life in the eyes of the writer doesn't mean less struggle. Rather, it is your ability to manage the conflict, and the writers developed a set of plans for us. We chose 3 practical plans presented by the writer to put points carelessly in the lines of your life. First, do not try. It is normal for people to share their pictures and clips on social media while they are partying, dancing, and laughing. But what about you? What about me? Are we sitting in our homes for several minutes and seconds and do not find anything to fill our time with, or are busy, for example, with our work, and do not find time to celebrate? Don't you agree with me that seeing others living happy lives would make us feel pity for ourselves? The topic may develop into envy for those who use Snapchat. Unfortunately, there is a whole generation that believes that their ordinary life, with its boring routine and negative things such as pain, sadness, frustration, and feelings of guilt, is sometimes a story. Imagine with me. One day I felt uncomfortable. The distress continues with you. Only 5 minutes. Then the devil pokes you. You fiddle with your fingers on Snapchat or Instagram, and you instantly find yourself in front of hundreds of photos and videos of people who look perfectly happy, living their lives up and down. Amazing lives to the fullest. Wouldn't you feel guilty then? Aren't you wondering what's wrong with me? What makes me less of them? The book The Art of Indifference tells you to think a little and weigh things. You see people at their best. You didn't see them the rest of the day. Everyone lives in a boring routine. But they do not show it. They only document cases of joy and happiness. Stop believing that life is always rosy. Whether you have it or someone else's, it's okay to feel frustrated, sometimes in pain. So we should not try to be always happy. Secondly, embrace your suffering. It is said that creativity is born out of suffering. Can happiness be born from the womb of suffering as well? Is this what the writers see? Perhaps the following story mentioned by the author in his book will explain to us what he means. the story of a prince who lived inside his luxurious palace, fulfilling all his desires and enjoying all kinds of luxury. But he was feeling very upset. Life has no meaning to him, so he decides to run away. He escaped from the palace to discover the meaning of life in the outside world, but he found that the world was outside the palace, full of suffering and misery. After going through several harsh experiences, the prince came to the conclusion that life is a form of suffering. Everyone suffers in their own way, without exception. The prince would later be known as Buddha, and the central theme of the famous Buddha philosophy is pain and loss, two things that are inescapable. We must stop trying to resist them. Problems, pain, and calamities are all forms of suffering in life. If suffering in our lives is inevitable, how does happiness come from it? This important question. No one laughs at us and says that from the womb of suffering comes happiness. But let's hear a point of view. The author says, "The idea is simply to understand my life cycle of suffering. Suffering has a life cycle like any other being. Any problem, any human suffering, has a life cycle. Suffering is born, grows, and then dies. The death of suffering is the pinnacle of human happiness. Suffering, if you are hungry, you are in suffering. The more hungry you are, the greater the suffering. But when you eat, this suffering will die, and you will feel happy. If you are tired, you will get rest later, and you will feel happy." Briefly, there is no meaning to happiness without the suffering that precedes it. There is no meaning to satiety without hunger, and there is no meaning to rest without exhaustion and effort. In order to put a point at the end of the line, we say always remember the password, accept the problem, then think about the solution, and you will feel the pleasure of the solutions. You are not exceptional. The book attacked positive thinking and considered the self-development movement an illusion. But why? Because he believes that the problem with these books is that they measure self-esteem by how positive people feel about themselves. Strange talk. We explain it now. I mean, self-development books always try to make your sense of yourself positive, because they believe that the more you improve your self-image, the higher your self-esteem. I feel like you're still wondering what's wrong with feeling good about yourself. On the contrary, this thing is beautiful. It is very nice to feel a glow while contemplating yourself. It is very beautiful. The feeling of euphoria that fills you, sweet confidence. The only problem is, if you ever want that feeling, it stays 24 hours a day every week. The problem is needing this feeling all the time. It's nice to have a good feeling about yourself. It's not nice to fight day and night, to be like this all the time. In short, if you go a day without being a superhero, you won't feel good about yourself. Every day I have to be a hero. Every day I have to shine. Every day I have to be exceptional. This is a failed strategy that makes you delusional with happiness, and it is in fact your trap. The strategy of being exceptional, centered on self-development books a lot. This is what Mark Masonson understood, and he said in a very wise phrase, if everyone possesses the exceptional, exceptionalism would have no meaning. No one would be exceptional. The author exaggerated a little to the point where he said, no offense, we are just monkeys. We don't go or come. The fact that we have advanced ovens and toasters, and we designed elegant clothes that cover the naked body, all of this is good, but we are no exception. Regardless of the strange attack on man, his clothes, and his ovens, the words of what we have forgotten are something admirable. We, as humans, have come to hate the word ordinary. Ordinary has become a nightmare. Exceptionalism is the first obsession. The new criterion for failure is that a person is ordinary. The key to mental health lies in accepting the realities of the world, the realities of ordinary life, realities such as the greater part of our lives will be normal. There is nothing in it that attracts attention or attracts admiration. Dear listener, we have provided only a small part of this book. In the rest, critical stopping points made by Mark Manson's pen. Points tell you we don't choose, and we don't refuse. If you insist on being all, having all, doing all, you will never have an identity. The book is full of secrets for your understanding of why Mohammed Salah bought this book. The Radiant Orange Book of the Commandments of Indifference. You are with Hassan on the Sage Talks channel.